Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
From there, we go into the bathymetric survey, and that is basically what the river bottom is, right in the vicinity of the dam, detailed stuff, and this will be good enough that we can do designs on. And from there also, we'll go up into the impoundment and do 12 cross-sections of the impoundment and get information on elevations there also. And that'll be important later on so that you can know how the impoundment can react to any of the scenarios of dam modification or even potentially dam removal.
I learned a whole new vocabulary word,
Thalweg.
bellweg.
What's that mean?
If you look it up, it says a line connecting the lowest points of successive cross-sections along the course of a valley or river. Thalweg. I'd never heard that before.
If you were around when the Great Dam was going on, you would have heard that word
Oh,
then.
really?
Because that's when I really learned about it too.
All right, well, that's good to know.
Actually, I thought you found it out in the woods.
No, I had to ask 3 times before it sunk in though.
It's a geology term, apparently.
So then, after those additional surveys are done, you put it all on an existing conditions plan. From there, I'm now at item 1.6. Oh, you got everybody one too, huh? Oh, I missed that.
Do you need a copy?
No, I've got
You don't
one
need
right
this,
here.
okay. I have one extra copy here.
So impoundment probing, what they'll do there is go up with a steel rod and try to push it down into the soil layers and see where it gets to be firmer. And then in 1.7, they'll have a sub-consultant. Park is the name of the company. They also helped us with the Great Dam project with some of the geotechnical work on that. And they're going to do an inspection of the dam. And the reason for this at this time is if we're going to modify the dam, that is whatever there okay enough to build upon. So if we have some sort of improvements, we got to make sure that the dam itself could be the base for those improvements too. Then we go to task number 2. And alternatives development, you got 5 conceptual ones there. Stabilization, a modification where potentially lowering the spillway, another modification of the spillway extensions, of which we've done some of that work already, at least to give us a flavor of what was happening. Dam reclassification to see if there's any way to move it back to a not a high hazard dam. And then also the dam removal scenario. Along with that will be probable costs of what it would be for that, for each one of those alternatives. And there's one thing that's a little different on the cost evaluations for this project that I've asked for, was to separate out the costs that would be required for any fish passage accommodations too. I think that is important for the town to know what that difference is there. Conceptual sketches, so you can see what it looks like. And then a screening, basically a matrix that has all of the information of findings, constructability, future maintenance costs, that sort of stuff. And then carry 3 of those for detailed analysis. Now we go to task number 3. and it's the sediment sampling. Develop a plan that, in a protocol that is approval through the New Hampshire DES. Now that you've already done the probes and you kind of know where some of the soil stratas are, go out and take 4 sediment samples. And in that, you'll be looking for the chemicals inside of it. If you recall the the Great Dam Project too, we found some items with regards to that, and also some of the physical properties of the sediments too. So that would come in at a later time for analyzing how some of these sediments can move, depending on what type of modification that you would do to the dam. Oh, there it is. That was 3.3. It was sediment transport. 3.4, sediment management. What you might want to do during the construction process and the time frame after that, depending on what you choose for a dam modification, on how to mitigate any type of sediments transfer, if necessary. Now, we go on to task number 4, which is the what they call H&H, the hydrology and hydraulics analysis. And we've already done some of the hydrologic study, and that's where we came up with it 2.5 times the 100-year storm event. And I've mentioned that a couple times, and I've got a question mark right in my head. What is that number? 10,200 CSF, indeed. Cubic feet per second is the flow that we'll be designing to. However, one of our other grants that we haven't quite got yet is the Coastal Resilience Grant, and that is a $40,000 grant. And one of the items for us to get that grant was also to see what happens with climate change and what happens to that 2.5 times 100-year storm event, also with climate change too. So there'll be an activity for that.
So this number could change.
It won't change for our project unless it changes while we're doing our project.
Okay.
But it would be nice to know if we did a certain modification, what we could be looking at in the future of what flow we'd have to meet.
Can you, in the last bullet under 4.1 has IDF as an acronym, do you know? Can you expand that for me?
Where are you at?
What's IDF? It's the last bullet under 4.1, hydrologic study. Evaluate the IDF. VHB will use the adapted model to evaluate the IDF, analyzing the scenarios for future 100, 200, 500.
That's eluding me right at the moment
Okay.
also.
Okay, and the other thing was you said 10,200 CDF, is that what you,
Cubic feet per second,
cubic feet per second?
CFS.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so now I'm at 4.2, and that's the hydraulic study. So we'll have new survey data, including the thalwag. And that information will be put into the program. And then we would run the various flows through it and see the results. One of the things in 4.3 that we'd be looking at is also scour analysis of structures near the dam area, which is the Crossroad Bridge. That would be specifically looked at. And then also, because we're running the storm events through the the newly replicated river bottom in the analysis, we can estimate what some of the FEMA floodplain would change. And this is not a deep dive into that, but it'll give you an idea of what would happen to the floodplain with any of those scenarios. Task number 5. It's the cultural resources, initiate the Section 106 consulting. And basically, I lump all of those items because I don't know what each specifically mean, even though that I went through it with the Great Dam process, is the historical review and significance of the dam. From there, in the feasibility study, you start looking at impact analysis. You'll look at the inventory of rare species. You'll look at fish passage, which was a big player in the Great Dam project. Wetland impact analysis. This is, again, a high level there because now you have those 12 cross-sections in the impoundment, so you can estimate how that might change.
A question, if I could. How far upstream is this analysis being done? Certainly, the impoundment is several miles.
And I know that there's already some of the cross-sections by the FEMA cross-sections already, but this will supplement that data with newer data. And I don't know how far it will go up, but in general, I think it would be to understand the impoundment. So that's the only general term I can use. It didn't say how far up.
I think on the first page, it says, the feasibility study will include detailed surveys of the Pickpocket Dam site, as well as study of selected resources within the impoundment extending approximately 3.4 river miles upstream.
Okay, it was the 3.5 river miles.
He read that today a little bit better than I did today. Thank you for that. The recreational use, how any of those modifications might change that. Invasive species, riverine ice, water supplies. And that, the big highlight in that one is the inventory of wells within 1,000 feet of the river. How any of the modifications might affect water quality. Infrastructure impacts, just like the Crossroad Bridge, or if anything else comes to mind or to bear. And visual simulations also. And then the feasibility study report itself. And what's going to be real important in that is the alternatives summaries table. We already talked about progress reports and project meetings. And yep, I think that takes us to the end of that. We don't have to dive into who all we're talking to or whatever. Just know that there are enough meetings to suffice for the grant obligations. But I got to say, when we were trying to get this scope narrowed down to dollar figures that we had available, we had to cut $45,000 out of the, Rev Zero of the scope. It's not Rev Zero, the 2022 Rev Zero of the scope. And so one of the things that was tightened was some of the meetings, though. So that's where a good chunk of making it to where we have money to apply to it, is where it happened, was in some of the meetings. So that, there's another page in there. It's the very last page. And it is the one that has all those tasks that we just mentioned, the dollar figures on it. And some tasks were being paid for by the Coastal Resilience Grant. And then there was a $20,000 match that we had committed to that to get that $40,000. You'll see that in the next column there. And then there is the Clean Water SRF of $100,000. And really, they want clean water. They want water improvements. And so you'll see what tasks were put for that $100,000, and then the remaining match and the remaining tasks by the town there. So down, if you look at the very lower end, you see the lower right-hand corner, coastal resilience grants totals to $40,000 with the $20,000 match. You had the clean water SRF was $100,000, and then the remainder was the $213,000 from the town. And if you include the match for the coastal resilience, it comes out to be roughly $233,000 of town money. So that was a fairly quick walkthrough, but at least it lays the groundwork of the tasks that we're going to start seeing here.
Lionel, go ahead.
This is all focused on us, except for what's upstream. What are we going to do, and how are we going to have to pay for, or will Brentwood pay for their part?
That's not part of the study. That's something that the town will have to try to tackle. I don't have an answer for you on
No.
that. But right now, since the town is the owner, I think right now,
It's us.
it is 100% the town.
I believe that downstream, when we're discussing options and costs and pros and cons, we need to involve Brentwood in those discussions. And I'm not exactly sure how that goes, but that wouldn't be needed until we're at the point where we have the feasibility study to show us what options and costs and pros and cons are, right?
No, you can do it before that. We're going to have several of those meetings where there's being updates on the project findings. I think that that would be a good time for them to listen in on. And I know that this group has already invited representatives of Brentwood also to attend these meetings. And I don't think you said stop attending.
No, I think we should have our hand up to make that happen at the first opportunity.
Okay.
So they're involved and they understand what we're trying to sort out. Now, when do we think the budget will start to open up so the feasibility study can begin?
I think we have to finish the paperwork on
Yeah.
both the coastal resilience grant and the clean water SRF. And those applications have to be in by the end of this month. Well, the clean water SRF has to be in by the end of this month. I've had some paperwork already from the coastal resilience, but I did not move forward with that because now we're balancing in that last page there, who pays for what, and make sure we got all the tasks covered. So if I didn't want to move forward with one before we knew the general game plan, we know the general game plan right now by the conversation with Deb on Friday. So you said, how long? Well, we will put that get that in by the end of this month, and I could get the coastal resilience in by the end of this month too, and then it has to go to the governor and council for award there. And I think that might take a little bit.
So do we need a July meeting to report all the results that have happened since the end of June?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're thinking we could put off the next meeting for another month.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit.
All right, I mean, I'm hearing, let's see, that
Dan's
was,
been handled.
I'm sorry.
I have a question for me. I didn't notice any reference to the dump and the effect on the dump. Is that going to be studied?
I didn't hear what you said.
The dump,
The dump. Now,
the prior dump, to be out there.
not by this consultant, because this consultant will need to understand, well, will be given information of what the river elevations are. And previously, this was a couple years ago now, there was talk about we needed to put some money into the pickpocket analysis, and I think we put in $20,000 for that analysis to happen. And I think what's going to happen is the consultant that monitors the groundwater situation at the landfill will need to find out what effect does that river elevation now have on our understanding of what's happening with the landfill.
Do we have a new consultant? It looked to me like the original test wells have been capped and the new ones,
I think we've got the same one we've had for a while.
just as the abutter to it, I've had no input. I used to get test
Yeah.
well results and this kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. No, I think we've got the same one, and I can't remember who that is right at the moment.
There's a whole new set of wells since we originally started monitoring the dump.
Yeah,
When they got done capping it, there's a whole new set of wells. I'm just wondering,
yeah. See,
what can I find out
we've
about this
got,
job?
we've got our Public Works Director that's going to be retiring. And she used to watch what was going on over there with the consultant. And then I had an assistant that helped out with watching what is going on over there also. My assistant had gone to greener pastures or new job, or however you want to word it, 6 months ago. And I can tell you that I've not done too awful much than say hello to the consultant on an email. So I think what may be in order coming up, and I think Jen Perry was talking about this too, is maybe, hey, there's a lot of new people around. Let's have a discussion of what's happening out there so that everybody can be on board, and then where are we headed, what are we going? And it's more like, let's just say where we're at right now and bring everybody up to speed on that, including the person here talking to you right now.
Yeah, you've got the same old grumpy neighbor who hasn't been told anything.
Yeah.
So are you amenable to meeting on August 18th at 3 o'clock on a Thursday, or is that a day off for you?
I don't know.
I say that because this was a day off for him, and he came in anyway,
Thank you.
just so you know.
Yeah, we hadn't had a meeting for a while, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that when I said postpone it one more month, so I felt a little guilty, so that's why I'm here.
Oh, I see, that's why. But anyway, that would be the third Thursday of August would be the 18th.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure that we're gonna have a lot of information by then either. I
So
don't
it's
think that
conceivable.
whole SRF will be turned around like that fast.
So it's conceivable he would send me an email and say, let's postpone. It could
To
happen.
September.
As a suggestion, could you reach out to me when it's time to see if we'll have a meeting instead of you saying we're gonna have one and then I react to it?
We can try to figure that out, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk
Wait,
about today.
Question? All right.
So, you're living with this a lot more than I am. I'm curious about your recommendations for what we would say to Brentwood when we have a session with Brentwood, however that happens. What are the issues that we should lay out and talk about?
Well, that will be these items. Each one of these items are going to be explored so that the town or whoever gets educated on what any of the modifications mean. And some, as we found out downtown here, with the Great Dam, people weigh in on things differently. The mills might be the industrial component of something where they were getting water for their HVAC, water supply for the water department. Some people that like to fish out there, what that would happen? So there's all kinds of competing interests. And so that's why all of these items that we just talked about, the implications of all of these items will be, we'll try to understand them and say, okay, now what do you want to do? So I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I think you specifically as what should we say to Brentwood, it would be, hey, we're studying this so we can find out information. Why don't you watch this and understand what the information we're finding out is?
And there are a couple things on the list that are really interesting. One is get a dam reclassification based on purchasing downstream affected properties.
Well, that keeps coming up with this group right here.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about that. And,
Yeah.
and we think that that's probably a likelihood of almost nil.
Zero.
But it
But
will be
Brentwood might come
explored.
forward and buy all that because they have a house that's got the home value based on the proximity to the impoundment, right? Isn't that how that works?
You also have Route 111,
Yeah.
and that's still going to be impacted. With that dam breach. Not much, but it will be, and I don't think you'll be able to go backwards. But we're going to have a specific task on that.
Yeah.
And all laid out and written so that there won't be any conjecture anymore.
I like it. Okay, so I'm guessing 2 months, there might be some progress in getting funding and getting started. But
Yeah,
it's
but
probably many months before we're going to have data to point at that says this is what our options are for fixing the dam.
there'll be data, and it won't be time until, I would say 9 months after that study starts, that you'll have a feasibility report.
Okay.
So we got about a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have to figure out how to keep our river committee exciting during that period. Don't want anybody quitting here, you know. All right.
Okay, that's,
It says there's progress reports being sent out on Junes and Decembers. Will we be able to see those progress reports as well as they're sent to DES?
oh, yeah, yeah.
Those come
Yeah,
to us.
you'll see all of the documents. Yeah.
Is this document on the website, this 11
No,
pages?
and I didn't want to put that on the website yet because it's still all draft.
Yeah, okay. Do you want me to list a couple punctuation errors that
No.
need attention? Okay.
No,
All right.
But know some definitions.
no, I'm good there, thank you,
Well, there's some others in there strange too, but
thank you.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you. I think we're on to other business. The River Advisory Committee of Exeter has received 2 letters, and they came in on June 10th. And we are a group of kids from a school named Building Block Commons. We write this letter in hope of saving the brook floater mussel. The mussels live in the shallow water on rocks in the Squamscott River's case, that is right where citizens and tourists launch boats which could crush the mussels. Swimmers often stay in the shallow zone for safety and will likely step on smaller, younger mussels. They'd like to make some permits such as no building boat ramps around the mussel homes and no shallow water activities. We can also make more wetlands around the Squamscott River, which would also benefit other animals in Exeter. Canoers often hit rocks which the mussels are sitting on. Their shells are not strong enough to protect them against the force of a boat. To protect brook floater mussels, we only need to enforce a few small permits which would harm no one. Please consider enforcing these permits to protect the innocent lives of the brook floater mussel species. Thank you for taking time to read our suggestion. And it's signed by the different students. And then this one came in. We are from the Building Block Commons in Exeter, and we are writing because we are trying to convince you to help save the osprey. Osprey live in tall trees, tall platforms like telephone poles, rivers, lakes, near oceans, mangroves, lagoons, reefs, coastal wetlands, estuaries, and marshes. We can protect them in these areas. Please use this area. People use this area all the time. If we protect these areas, osprey can nest. Ospreys eat mostly fish in their diet. The main type of fish they eat is alewife, and they are being overfished. We need to have a rule to limit how many fish can be taken. The fish are flounder, carp, sunfish, bass, suture, bullhead, whitefish, anthred, salmon, and alewife. I'm not sure I pronounced all those things correctly. Fun fact about the osprey, the scientific name is pandion. Boats go over ospreys' prey and they can't see their prey anymore and don't get food. Don't build houses where tall trees are. Sincerely, and there's a list of students. So we've received these 2 letters. They've been scanned and delivered to other departments at Exeter because this committee doesn't have the ability to enforce new permits, I don't think. At least we've never tried that. But it's interesting that we're getting this from school students who want to make changes for the environment. So just wanted to let you know that's happened as other business. And we don't have Don Clement here to give us public comment. I don't know what happened. Anything else on the agenda? I think we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Lionel so moved.
Second.
Nico seconded it. So I guess we can adjourn.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our